Rightio, I think we've got enough people online now to kick it off. So I want to say thank you to all the members who've joined us for today's webinar. And I'm joined by some pretty esteemed colleagues here to have a good discussion around navigating your business through rocky times. But just prior to I do, in the latest news, I'm sure everyone's aware the JobKeeper package was passed last night through Parliament with relative ease. So if anyone can demonstrate that 30% drop in business turnover, then and you can compare your month of March or April to the month before or the month a year ago, they're being quite flexible around that. So you should be able to get your business across the line if you've had a bit of a dip. Then you can get $1,500 per full-time employee or casual employee if you've had them on for longer than 12 months. So it is quite a good support package. That support's talked about going for 6 months. Although I do notice that the curve has certainly flattened. The new case numbers has dropped dramatically, and while even with the testing increasing as far as it has, which is probably good news, and hopefully this virus might be over quicker than originally thought, but we'll wait with bated breath and see how we go. So look, I'd like to welcome our two guests. I'd welcome Tony Arnold, the Managing Director of Arnold Electrical. Give us a little wave there, Tony. Welcome aboard. And John Horan, our new President and the CEO of Horan Bird. Welcome. Thanks, John. Appreciate your time, guys. We're going to spend some time today working through a few issues around navigating your business through these tough times and what you should do. So the first thing I'd like to do is actually get to know you. Oh, we've had a mechanical failure. We won't worry about that. The pretty strong breeze here in Brisbane today. All good. So look, I'll start with you, Tony, and to understand your business. I understand you're a second generation contractor. Your father was a prominent figure in the industry and the association. So tell us about your company and what sort of process did you go over a period of time to make the company yours after that transition from your parents?
Yeah, thanks, Mel. I guess from my perspective, I basically came and worked for Mum and Dad straight out of school back in 1986, and basically did my time. Came into the office around 92 as a general manager of the business with about 16 employees at that point in time. Mum and Dad tried to expand, had a couple of pretty large projects that didn't go so well from them, and yeah, nearly broke them, unfortunately. So that was a pretty tough time for us for about 3 or 4 years. Things sort of got back on track again after that. I came in right on the tail end of those couple of pretty tenuous times. I came into the office and picked up the reins as a GM. I was lucky enough at the time when I started. I had our current GM of commercial projects, Garrick Cripps. He and I did our apprenticeships together, and Garrick and I still work closely together today. And he's an integral part of the success of the business. So in 2000, I was basically told that I was purchasing the business off Mum and Dad. There was zero negotiation.
I expect they told you the dollar figure too.
They did, and it was non-negotiable. But look, we managed to pay that debt off in 5 years. And having newly born kids and being married and going through all that, it was a pretty tough time, and you work a lot of hours, and I guess in those first 5 years and all that hard work really created a foundation and a culture within the business. It gave me an opportunity to make it my own, and I think the personalities of both myself and Garrick really permeate through the business today, and that's what's allowed us to sort of generate the sort of culture we have in the business. So yeah, we're probably a multifaceted business. We do a lot of UPS work. We do a lot of industrial mining work, industrial construction work, and then a lot of commercial fit out, commercial construction work. So along with that, the service work we do, we've been building our own switchboard for the last 5 years. And we've also got another sister company, Power Quality Group, which do UPSs and power quality services. So, excuse me while I turn the lights back on here.
Sounds like you need a good electrician there, mate.
Yeah, that's right. Not enough people moving around in this room. But yeah, look, Mel, it's been a ride. Obviously the last 13 years, I've been pretty heavily involved with Marshall Electricians, which has been a great journey in itself. But I guess the key to our success over the years has been the fact that, and look, it all hasn't been rosy. We had a couple of years ago, we had a really, really tough year, and managed to tear up a fair bit of money, which is never fun. But look, we're sort of over that hurdle and learnt some valuable lessons. And yeah, we're sort of back up on our feet and back to where we were before. But yeah, look, you don't get to a position like this without, great people around you. And, we're lucky enough, or I'm lucky enough to have surrounded myself with some really good quality people, and that makes my job, that much easier.
Excellent, Tony. And I'd certainly echo your time put into MEA and the level of professionalism and efficiency you brought to MEA over your 6-year presidency there too, mate. And I notice, and you've told me business is going all right through this, but when you do see these unplanned changes coming at you from the industry, such as this virus, what's the immediate thing goes through your head? What do you do in your business to assess what's going on, and how do I prepare myself for it?
Yeah, look, this is something that's not new to all of us, and I guess we've all approached this in a lot of different ways. I'm a member of the Executive Connection, the tech group, and probably 6 weeks ago, our chair, who works pretty closely with MEA, Adam Slade, basically sat down at our monthly meeting and said, look, there's this thing called coronavirus. It's in China at the moment, and I'm here to let you know that through the whole tech community, we're basically putting businesses on notice that we are going to go into an unprecedented sort of stage of business. And I sort of walked away from that meeting going, it's in China. It's how much damage can it cause here? And I guess in the last 4 weeks we've really seen the impact of that. And whilst I had a little bit of a heads up about it, as a management group, we struggled for probably a week to just how we were going to adapt as we needed to. And looking down the barrel of a complete shutdown of the construction industry, we basically had a half-a-day war room meeting here with what we would do with the guys, what options we would give them, how would we come out of it, how would we treat our customers, how would we communicate to our suppliers, and it basically came down to, shore up your customers, shore up your supply chain, and then shore up your working group and make sure that you're there to deliver against whatever work is there when you have to. And we're probably lucky enough that we've got a fairly strong pipeline of work at the moment, but even that has been affected by our ability to access some of that work. So they're day-to-day challenges that we face every day, and to this point in time, I think we've done an okay job of it. You can't let perfect get in the way of good in instances like this. So you just sort of got to make the best of it as you can, and sort of unfortunately everything we do is reactive at the moment. It's you can have multiple plans in face, but as Mike Tyson said, you can have all the best plans in face and they all go out the window once you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, Tony, I might just pause there for a minute to bring John in on the conversation. I just want to introduce John Horan, who all of you know is the current president of MEA, and also the CEO of Horan Bird, with a very interesting story. So, John, I know you from days gone by when you built up Horan Bird some time ago from nothing, and then went through a great sale to Origin Energy. Can you tell us a bit about that journey and explain how much fun that's been?
Well, you know, you can say it's fun when you look back at it now, I suppose. But, you know, I started a small business, probably a little bit different to Tony. I started out of a garage like most of our members do, with my wife in 2003. I probably did about 10 years working for other electricians. I worked for a lot of good mentors before I did that. I did a lot of study as well. I did business management and a lot of things in my own time. I wanted to be ready. I think a lot of businesses out there started way too early and they failed way too early. So I wanted to make sure that I was right, and I was happy to spend 10 years to get right before I started. However, exactly like what Tony just said, it's not until you get that first smack in the head you realize you're in small business. You're in business now. There's no turning back. It wasn't as easy as everybody said it's going to be. It took years to work this stuff out, and honestly, it doesn't take long to realize that you're working 7 days a week, up at 6 o'clock in the morning, home at 6 o'clock at night, returning phone calls to 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, and not seeing your kids, and it gets real tough. And it got me hard. Probably 2005, I was in the worst shape of my life, extremely overweight, extremely unhealthy, blood pressure through the roof. And I got back to, I had to start taking some time out, and I deliberately started taking every Friday off to work on the business. Even though I didn't have time before, I was always measuring everything that I did, but I never had time to analyze anything. And I was able to come up with a formula I call PPH, which is profit per hour. And it measured everything that I did, whether it was a due and charge job, materials only, labor only, a quoted job. It measured everything, but it was also able to track which suburbs made the most money, you know, how old they were, females, males, what type of jobs made the most money. And that period from then changed the way I was and exploded after that. It was incredible how much money you can make when you can just concentrate on the customers that are good to you and also the ones that make you most money. In 2007, Scott Bird, who was my operations manager, he bought into the business, and the business went to Horan Bird. That's it, it became Horan Bird. 2008 was the GFC. How could you forget that? GFC was like a paper cut, to be honest, compared to this COVID virus. That's how it sort of feels at the moment. But we got through that. We were lucky to win a lot of government work. Then defence housing had a lot of stuff. We got through that. And then we were the big electrical contractors. We did electrical, we did air conditioning. But in 2010, we changed our whole vision to become an energy company, and we went into solar. And it was probably the biggest moment of my life was when I met a guy called Troy Hazard, who I was bringing on as a board member. And the first meeting and the first cup of coffee, he said to me, John, what is the year you want to sell your business? Who do you want to sell it to? And what is the ridiculous number you want for it? And I said, wow, I didn't see that coming. I don't think anybody ever sees that coming. And from that, he made us write it down. He said, just come up with a stupid number. And that's what we did. We come up with a stupid number, and then we worked it back to realize it was probably only 2 or 3 businesses that probably would pay that stupid number. Back then, you know, as a small electrical contractor, as we were, even though we still had 40 staff back then, but it was still a long, long way from where we wanted to be. So we identified probably only Origin Energy or AGL or Energy Australia would buy us out. And we reverse engineered everything back to 2015. It was the year we wanted to sell it. And we changed our whole business to what Origin would want out of us if they were going to buy us. So we knew that Origin were getting into solar. We knew they were bad at doing solar. We knew that they wanted to get into Queensland. We knew they were bad at selling into Queensland. We made ourselves the biggest solar company in Queensland. We also knew early that in America, that everyone in America was selling solar by PPAs, power purchase agreements. So we went to America. We worked out how to sell power purchase agreements, probably 3 to 4 years before anybody else knew what they even were. We invested heavily in that. We got our retailer's license to be able to do that. So by the year 2015, when Origin wanted to start selling power purchase agreements, they didn't know how to do it. So they heard this company that was doing it pretty well in Queensland, and yeah, that's the story.
So did they come to you, or did you put yourself under their nose? How did the process start there?
They came to us. So they came to us through a mutual contract that we had, and then same thing. We worked together for 6 months. We tried it for 6 months in a partnership, and then in the end of 2015, they bought us out. So I've been working with Origin still since that day. Scott retired last year. Scott Bird retired last year. So I still head up and run Horan Bird. And I'm also on the board for Origin's business energy division. So that's all the electricity that gets sold to the big end of town, Woolworths and all those people. Not the mums and dads, but so it's an insight that it's just incredible. Yeah.
I can only say Scott's way too young to retire, because he was an apprentice at the same time as me with Norberg and Townsville. So, mate, he's around my age and he's way too young to retire. So that sale price must have been pretty good.
He's back. He's back. He just wants to have some time off.
No doubt. Yeah. Look, you talked about the GFC and some downtimes, mate. What was the worst time in business? And just take us through, what did you actually do to keep the business lean and mean and survive that coming out the other end? Since the GFC, I've learned a lesson from the GFC to be able to you need to be nimble and agile. The worst one ever for me, though, was when I had 140 staff in 2012 and the government said overnight that they were going to stop the solar feed-in tariff. I knew that was going to be absolute carnage. So a lot of my competitors just closed their businesses up, and I said, well, I'm going to go down swinging. They made a great decision that they were going to give businesses 2 weeks to get their house in order before they did that. So I spent an enormous amount of money in that 2 weeks and got 6,000 applications through my door. 6,000 customers came through my door in 2 weeks, and I was able to fund the whole business really for another 18 months. But during that time, I knew that was going to have to, get down. I became extremely nimble after that, but I had to get rid of 70 people over that 18 months, and it was just absolutely heartbreaking to reduce 70 people. Good friends, good people, good company, good people, and that was very, very hard. But how I look at it now, and it's made me tougher, it's made me nimble and agile, but sometimes when you haven't gone to the gym for a while, you haven't run for a while, and next thing you know, you're 10 kilos heavier. No, I haven't experienced that, John, but go ahead.
Especially when your wife's having a baby, I found. But honestly, it's very, very easy to put 10 kilos on. It's easy to lose your mojo in yourself. And it's not until you go for a run or you join up a boot camp to realize how unfit you are and how disgusted you are in yourself. I see a COVID-19 that hit to a business. It's not until you're in business, when you cop this hit, you realize how inefficient your business is, how much waste your business has, and probably too many resources that your business has. And that is how I see businesses. And that's what you need to be. You need to get back to being that nimble, agile street fighter that you once were. Excellent,
John. If I can go back to you, Tony, and just talking about being agile, nimble, and even more efficiency, the thing you probably brought to MEA. We hear all the time that cash is king. What sort of strategies have you used in your business to ensure that liquidity through these tough times?
Oh man, that's a tough one, Mel. We've got we deal with a lot of mining clients. So I guess on the commercial front, we're lucky. Some of the solar stuff we do, we get paid basically 7 days, which is great. On the commercial service side of things, we've tried to pull everyone into a minimum of 30 days. Commercial builders are all at 30 days. We've got some of our big industrial clients. Some of them pay 7 and 14 days. So it's really just a matter of getting that cash in as quick as you possibly can and holding onto it. We have suppliers, offering us, settlement discounts and all that sort of stuff. we tend to not take those up because, you know, it's more important for us to have the money in the bank, you know, than sort of throw it away early, because you just never know when you'll need it, you know. We've currently got a couple of large projects we're handling at the moment that you might have to fund, you know, $700,000 or $800,000 at a time, you know, and that money can sometimes come in pretty slowly, you know. So it's important to hold on to the money you have, and the money you can get quickly, hold on to it, because, you know, it's always going to fund a hole somewhere, a cash flow hole somewhere down the track, you know. So it's, I guess in short, mate, it's a very difficult thing to manage. You know, we're lucky we've got a good CFO here that keeps his hands on the handles. So that works out pretty well. But I think in small business, it's no different to when you go down to Woolies and you pay for your groceries. You know, if you're doing a small job for a small customer, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to pay you straight away. And if you can get money straight away, then do it at every opportunity you can, and don't feel guilty about it.
I often hear stories of bad builders who lean on their subbies to say, look, I owe you that cash, but I give it to you, then things won't go well for you in the future. Have you had that happen to you, and how did you deal with it?
Probably early in the piece, we had a couple of builders try that on. I was a lot more aggressive and a lot crankier in my youth. So
Really?
Yeah, probably.
You're still pretty cranky now.
Look, I think you just got to put a stake in the ground and just go, yeah, we're not copping that, you know, and make that decision. It's you know, to walk away from a bad builder is not a bad thing. You know, all you do is you work for people like that, and life just becomes a misery. And I don't think you should be you shouldn't be a servant to anyone who's not there to respect, you know, the professionalism that you offer as a business. So
you've actually said no to some jobs where you had concerns about the builder paying you on time?
Yeah, most certainly. Yeah, we've got a couple of builders now that, excuse me again, I'm in the duck.
I'm enjoying this bit especially, Tony.
It keeps me exercised. But yeah, look, we've got a couple of builders that constantly chase us to work for them, and we just don't, because it's just not worth it. You know the dramas you're going to be in for. You know they're going to be disorganised. You know they're not going to pay you well, and you know that. And we tell a lot of our builders this, that, you know, 99% of the times we will not be the best price. You know, and we prove that over and over again. But we tend to win a lot of jobs out of second and third place because of you know, reputation and capability. You know, and you know, people will pay that extra dollar for a contractor that they know is going to treat them fairly along the way and provide a quality result at the end of the day.
So just a bit of a look inside the business and how you operate. Have you got a documented strategic plan in your business, and what value does it add when you come across tough times like this?
Yeah, we certainly do. We've got our, for those who came to conference in Hong Kong, it was something that Adam developed through tech, a strategy on a page. So we basically have that strategy, and it sits above everyone's desk in our senior leadership team. So they know exactly, you know, what the expectations of the business are for the year. And we've got that time stamped so that people are responsible. Unfortunately, our current strategic plan, I'm responsible for a fair bit of the stuff that's got to happen on that, and I'm probably running behind on a few of those things. But look, it's really important to know where you're headed strategically. We find the most important thing in our business is budgets. You know, budgets and forecasts, you know, and know exactly where you're sitting with your budgets, and more importantly, know exactly where you're sitting with your forecasts. And that's forecast profitability, forecast sales mainly. It's you've got to have that sales pipeline full, and you've got to know when it's emptying out. And if you can do that 60 or 90 days, then you've pretty well got it beaten. You know, you can strategize around something that probably John's a lot better at than we would be, and that's around that sales strategy. And knowing who to target and what to go aggressively on. And I guess when we come into times like this, we know that the whole market's going to be extremely aggressive because everyone wants to fill their order books to just ride them through this tough patch, which might be 3 to 6 months at this stage.
And Tony, I was going to say, sometimes you look at your clients yourself as well. You can be a little bit nervous when maybe 2 or 3 clients can be 80% of your book. And if one of those clients had trouble through a COVID like that, where would your business be? So you're always looking at your clients and looking at your list like that as well to diversify?
Exactly, mate. And we're probably lucky we're diversified across a huge range of different industry sectors. But look, you see, contractors who've been centric around pubs, clubs, coffee shops and light commercial. I mean, I just dread to think where they would be at the moment, and it's, you're spot on there. You need to look at the profile of your customer base and try and get that diversity. It doesn't need to be a massive diversity, but you need to have a good handle on exactly where the diversity is in your client base to so not just through a crisis like this, but just in general business. We always find that we might have commercial sector might be slow for a while, but we find the industrial picks up. So we've always got something bubbling up that sort of keeps us sort of flatlining on our budget predictions.
And you'd have that in with your strategic plan, you'd have that in your risk management as well. You'd have that all written out.
No, that would I'll be honest, and we don't actually capture that in our risk analysis around the strategic plan. It's our strategic plan is probably a little bit more basic than that. And I find that because if it's strategy on a page, it's something that you can look at, one line of goals. Another thing we tried to implement this year, which worked okay, is each of the guys, and we leave it up to our senior leadership team. They have an objectives and key result month by month, and we just encourage them to come up with one key objective that they can basically aim up at through the month. That'll give us a 1% increase across the business in productivity or profitability, something like that.
Excellent. I'll just interrupt here, John, just to ask our members online, if you want me to put a particular question to these 2 experts on this sort of an issue, just type them into the Q&A section, and I'll get to ask those questions very soon to our expert panel here today. So if you do have a burning question, just pop it in and I'll throw it up to them. But John, I want to pick up on something you mentioned earlier about you put Troy Hazard on your board. It's not often that a small company actually puts a board in place, especially when the 2 of you own the whole company yourself. What was the decision process around putting a board in place, and what did it bring to the company?
I wanted, again, it probably go back to that putting that 10 kilos on when you're getting too comfortable in your business. Look, everything that I studied, everything that I I've done an MBA after that as well, but it was all about making yourself accountable. And if you create yourself a board, you absolutely make yourself accountable. And it was all about picking skills that you didn't think you quite had yourself. And it just took my business to the next level. Like for example, a guy like Troy Hazard, who probably one of the best marketing geniuses I've ever met in my life, and what he runs and what he's achieved over his life, and to be able to talk to that guy whenever I wanted, and having to report to him every month was amazing. I had other guys as well. Like I had some very successful businesses on my board, and which were able to fundraise money if I needed to raise capital, or get me a client that I needed a client. It was just incredible. Yeah, I totally recommend it.
How does it work? Just for some of the other members here who they got 8 or 10 employees, their business is going okay, and they're thinking of doing this. How do they attract a board member? How much do they have to pay them? How does the relationship work? What did you go through there?
So when I first started in business, I just reached out to people. So before I officially had a board, I probably had 2 or 3 guys that weren't electricians, but were very, very successful business people that I just had a coffee with and chatted with probably every couple of months. And it was those guys that really helped me get through the GFC. And, you know, the advice I had, the one was Lawrence Lancini. I'm not sure how many of you know him, but he's huge here in North Queensland. But he was the one that first of all said to me, John, a GFC will make you fit and nimble, and you will make twice as much money on the other side of this. And I've never ever forgotten that. But if you go, it's amazing if you go to somebody for advice, they will do it for free. However, if you want to take it to the next level, you got to pay. And once I started getting, I never had more than 3 people, but I was paying them 40 grand a year each.
Yep.
And sometimes I paid more than that each. But,
and then you got that return. So that 120K outlet every year, and you got more than that back, obviously. It brought that much more value to the business at the end of the year.
Oh, times 10.
Yeah.
If you look at ROI, it's times 10. If they can't do times 10, well, you got the wrong guys.
Yeah.
I can tell you that now. Yeah.
Interesting relationship when you turn up to a board and you employed them and paid them, and then they tell you you're doing the wrong thing, and how you work through that and actually come. What about you, Tony? Have you got a board running your business as well?
No, we have a couple of externals that sit from time to time, but we basically manage everything. It's just a management type board, and we have 2 independents come in every now and then and run their eye over what we're doing and how we're doing it. Yeah, look, it's something that's been on my radar for a little while. Yeah, you always wonder when you're the right size for it, you know, and I guess I've battled with that over the last few years. You know, is it turnover? Is it, you know, what you're trying to do? Is it advice? You know, that's something that I haven't had a chat to John about, but yeah, it would certainly be worth it, you know, because it's, you know, is it, yeah, I just don't know, you know, is it when you got 100 people, when you got a $25 million turnover, a $30 million turnover, you know, but I guess you handle things as best you can for as long as you can, and when you need to reach out for help, you do so.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Sorry, John.
Like, especially for me, I was just going to say, especially for me, like when you were on that 5-year journey to sell out, having guys, you know, investment bankers who are on my board, that sort of experience, you just can't get that. Like, you can read as many books as you like, but when you have someone who's done it 10 or 20 times, it's quite easy. It's a lot easier.
Yeah. Now, John, just a question from one of our well-known members. Just checking, was it an advisory board or were they actual registered liable directors?
No, advisory board.
Just an advisory board, okay.
You won't get too many that are going as a director. They don't.
Unless they got shares in the company or
Yeah.
a financial interest, that'd make
Right.
the difference at that point, yeah. And look, another question.
Sorry, you don't want them to be either.
No.
Sorry, John?
You don't want them to be liable directors either. You want to be advisory board.
Yeah.
Yep.
It'd be a very different relationship. And look, maybe Tony, you can help us out with another question here about what would be the worst thing a small contractor could do right now?
Oh, geez, that's a tough question. The worst thing.
Employ sick staff.
Don't give up. Don't give up. And don't start trying to do something that you're not absolutely brilliant at. You know, I think probably one of the worst things you could do is try and, you know, branch out in a new area of the market that you weren't really all that sure about, because you're just going to expose yourself to a ton of risk. You know, it's do what you're good at, you know, and don't do anything else.
I would just add to that as well. Yeah, absolutely stick to your core. Do what you do well and stick to your core. But I can tell you, if you've got bits of your business that don't make you any money, now's your time.
Yep.
And I know this is going to sound really, really horrible. I know it's hard to get tradies, but sometimes being too loyal for too long can cost you a lot of money. So you're lucky that JobKeeper's out there at the moment. We never had JobKeeper. All the ones that I had, there was no JobKeeper. But I'm telling you, I kept way too many staff for way too long, and it cost me millions.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've got another question here from Simone, and I think this is typical of a lot of members in our membership. We're a small 2 electrician company, been in business now for 5 years, would love to grow, I would love to be able to sit down with a great business mind. How would you recommend how to reach out and find someone as in that mentoring role or something else like that? Where do you look? Did you just know these people, John, or can you go to the AICD website and find some people like this who do that?
So what I did is that I looked for the piece of information that I needed that I wasn't good at. Like I was going to franchise. So big part of my strategy was franchising. So I went to Troy Hazard originally because he did the Eagle Boys Pizza franchise. He did the Pearlworks franchise. He was the guy that developed all of that, and I went directly to him. So I find, but it's amazing how close you are. Usually you're only one step away from someone else. And on LinkedIn, my goodness, you can see and search pretty quick. But yeah.
You find people are pretty receptive when someone who's young and wants to learn reaches out to them. Do you think they're open to help and assist in those areas?
They love it. They absolutely love it. They dream for it.
But sometimes you might just have to ask a question that'll lead to a better outcome.
Mm.
Let's talk about marketing, and I'll start with you, John, because I know how good you are in this area. If you're in your normal marketing plan is pretty comprehensive, what happens to your marketing strategy once COVID hits? Your normal customer base would obviously change their perspective. What do you do in your business when that occurs?
So I'm targeting different customers. So look, first of all, you look at all the marketing that is probably not essential. I look at some of the stuff that's like, look, I do a lot of different marketing for a lot of different reasons, but I got some things that I get leads for $30. I do some things that I get leads for $300, and I pay the $300 for a reason. But those leads that cost me $300, I'm not doing right now. There's no doubt about that. Look, I need 400 leads a week, every single week, to feed the engine that I've got. So I'm still going pretty hard on Facebook and Instagram and Google AdWords. My team are absolutely doubling down on blogs. We're doing 3 blogs at least a week. And we're just nurturing a lot of our database. So we've got our automation software in place, and we're going back to customers that never went ahead for some reason or another, and just putting them back through and offering new products to those guys that didn't go ahead. So yeah, you can't stop advertising or else you will become irrelevant. But just make sure that what you are doing is good ROI.
John, what percentage of your turnover is spent on marketing? Top of your head.
Well, I spend $1 million a year.
Yeah, okay, that's enough. You wouldn't spend it quite that much, would you, Tony?
I bought 500 stubby coolers and 100 coffee mugs. Pure marketing genius.
Yeah. That's funny.
We are get house at it.
Tony, you're at the other end of marketing. You got how many different clients do you work for? How do you market to someone in the commercial world? You don't put an ad in the paper, I presume.
No, all of our work really does come by straight referral. You know, it's we don't do any domestic work at all. You know, only for close friends and business associates. But look, it's just pure referral, pure reputation. People know who we are, you know, and you know, they'll seek us out. You know, if they know that we'll do a good job, they seek us out, and you know, we get blindsided by all sorts of really strange inquiries sometimes that just come out of the blue. You know, so yeah.
I get that. A lovely position to get to once you're got that position and that longevity in the business, but I suppose it's a bit different for someone new and entering the market to climb into that space.
Mm. So my comment to that, Mel, is, and I've said that in Hong Kong and probably as many places I can say it, if you are a new business coming into the market, you really need to analyze the market. A lot of our contractors just come in and do the same thing as everybody else, PowerPoints and safety switches, and wonder why it's so hard out there. What is your niche in the business? If you're going to be PowerPoints and safety switches, what is it that you do differently to everybody else? How do you treat your customers? How do you get your leads? You know, don't be the same.
So the golden word at the moment is pivot. How do I pivot my business in the current market? John, what's your advice to some of our members in terms of capitalising on this existing market where their existing customers have disappeared, but there's obviously other opportunities. You know, there's now 1 million people working from home in home offices that never were before. What does that mean for a contractor, and how can we pivot?
So look, if I say pivot, pivoting is a couple of different things. First of all, it's you're trying a new service to your existing customer base, or you're trying your existing service to new customers. That's a pivot. Like we're all pivoting now. I've got 70 staff working at home, selling over the phone right now, when we all used to do face-to-face. That's the pivot we had to do. I love the Aussie spirit. We're all fighters, to be honest. We don't give up. So we've all had to pivot one way or another, and we've got to get out there and go harder. But what I can say is that don't pivot for the sake of pivoting. If your core business is working real good, don't start something new that you haven't tried and waste a lot of cash. That's like Tony said before.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, Tony, let's talk about communication. You mentioned before talking to your staff, your customers and suppliers. What have you noticed in the last 3 weeks in terms of your internal communication channels?
It's certainly heightened to a great level. You know, we're sending out a communication to our field staff once a week just to let them know what's going on, and just to give them a bit of security that we, you know, as a senior leadership team are on the ball, and we're thinking about, you know, what's next for them. So we're trying to stay in front of the ball there. Unfortunately, none of the government rescue packages help us at all. You know, we're getting our bit of payroll tax back and a bit of PAYG back, but that's where it sort of ends for us.
I got the payroll tax.
Yeah,
that was the first thing I got.
Yeah, that was great. That was great. You know, but you just gotta look down the barrel, and you know, whilst our pipeline looks good for a little while, it's you know, we know that if we don't start converting orders soon, that pipeline's going to dry up, you know, and how we communicate to our team, you know, and how do we communicate to our customers, you know. And I've probably spent a lot of time on the phone the last couple of weeks just talking to other people in industry, talking to suppliers. You know, you've got to talk to as many people as you can to try and get different perspectives on where they think all this is going, you know. You know, we're seeing huge volume of work to price, and
yeah,
and all good quality projects, you know, and you just wonder in the background, where's the decision-making process? You know, are these projects going to go ahead? Are they not? Are they going to stall out? Are they, you know, it's just really difficult. So, you know, my advice would be, you know, you've got to talk to as many people as you possibly can, and you know, try and base your decisions around the information that's coming into you.
I think you nailed it there too, Tony. There's a lot of projects out there that they've already got the capital for, and their vision is a 3-year vision. So they don't really care about today, and a lot of them have already sold what they've got to sell anyway to get this up and going. Well, they're going to be fine. It's just most companies have a long-term vision, and they're going to, you know, write it out. But there is a lot of companies out there right now just cutting capital just for probably 6 months, and you just got to watch those ones.
Definitely.
Tony, guys just asked a question in regard to commercial work. How long will you work for a new client before trying to move them onto a maintenance contract? What's the incentive for them to be on a maintenance contract, and how best to develop or obtain contract conditions?
Straight away. The minute you finish a job for them, straight away. You know, you've got we make a point of honouring our defects liability. So, and we see, you know, servicing a customer, a fit-out customer or a construction customer through that defects liability period when you're turning up every 6 months to do your E&E light tests. It's a good opportunity to start a conversation, or you know, you turn up to do your you know, you check your switchboards and you do your thermographic scanning. You know, that's an opportunity. You know, use those opportunities to talk to the client, and whether there's anything, you know, additional they would like you to do, or if you'd like to be put on a maintenance contract for your E&E testing and scanning and those sort of things. You just want to be right in the forefront of their mind. And I think when you finish a job and you hand over your as constructed manual, and you really make an effort to make that touch point every 3 to 6 months, then, you don't necessarily need a contract. You just want to be, in the forefront of their mind, that when they want something done, an ad's moved or changed, that you're the first person they ring.
Yeah.
I noticed this about your business, John, where you proactively went back to existing customers that you had no contract with and followed them up to, number one, see how the work was holding up, and number two, did they need anything else done? You've done that for years, haven't you?
Yeah, it was part of our strategy. In fact, that one there was advised to us by one of my board members in 2010. He said, John, just put 2 people on for no other reason other than calling your database and just seeing how they're going. So first of all, every one of our tradies, we data collected. So every house we ever went to, we knew what year, best guess, when they needed to replace their fans, their switchboard, or their air conditioner were the 3 main ones we targeted. And we had a huge database. Could you imagine having 20 to 30 different vans doing that every day, and how that starts to pop up all of a sudden in Simpro and your call team to call? So we would go back to even if we didn't have someone to call, we'd go back and call them 12 months after they installed a ceiling fan and just say, hey, Mrs. Jones, we installed that ceiling fan at your place. It's still under warranty, just making sure if it's still going okay, there's no tick to it. And oh my God, it was unbelievable. They forgot that we even did a fan for them. But the main reason we called them is because we knew that their air conditioner was stuffed, and we knew that year they needed a new aircon. And by the way, we've got a special on aircons.
Are you seeing the similarity here? And I know you say, Tony, you don't do much marketing, but then you explain to us your high level of communication and going back to your current clients and having that direct communication. I'm drawing an absolute parallel between the marketing you're doing in your sector and the marketing John's doing en masse to the broader community. Do you see that similarity there?
Oh yeah, most certainly. It's certainly in the commercial end of the market and the service end of the market, that it all rings pretty true. On the industrial side of things, that's when you do need the maintenance contract. We're lucky enough to have a few of those, but it's not the sort of thing you can install a conveyor and say, oh, do you want a cross belt sampler with that? It's
but there is maintenance that goes with it. There is always fries that goes with any job you complete, and I think we pick up on that issue. And look, we got some bloke, Garrick, has just put a question in, something about getting a sensor fixed real soon for you, Tony. I don't understand what he's saying.
Yeah, get a work order.
And he's also chasing a couple of beers to put in those stubby coolers that Arnold's bought some time ago. So I'll let you answer that one directly after 1 o'clock.
I was going to say, Mel, there's also a lot of free stuff that we can be doing out there in marketing, other than like making the phone calls amazing, especially business owner to business owner. It's really good. And that's what Tony does better than anybody. But you can just do EDMs as well. Like just keep on getting a customer database and just keep on talking to them every month. Send that email out. This is what's happening at Arnold's. This is what's happening at Horan Bird. Or this is the new people we put on. This is the new things we're doing. Facebook's a great tool for showing customers out there what you're doing every day, jobs you just finished, introducing people, videos, funny videos, information. You've got to be keeping them engaged with them. Yeah.
Excellent. So look, one last question to each of you, or maybe I'll ask Tony first, and it's really, the government's been talking about this being a 6-month problem. We're 1 month into it. I'm personally concerned it might even be shorter than that, but say it is 6 months. What action should I be taking now in my business to prepare myself to take advantage of the upturn in 6 months' time? What do you think, Tony?
Look, I think it's, situations like this make us reevaluate, how we run our businesses. We become a lot leaner. We become a lot tighter. You really start to focus on the important things in your business. And I guess I heard someone say the other day, the way you run your business in the next 100 days will determine how successful you are in the next 10 years. And I think that's really true. It's probably something that, coming out of, I've gone through global financial crises, and all sorts of different financial crises over the years, and they're all hard and they all cost you a lot of money, and you get to the end of the year and you wonder why the hell you're doing it. But, you know, I think everyone's got to use this particular event as a great learning curve to really smarten up your business practices. And if anything else, look at margin, margin, margin. You know, don't do work for nothing. You know, this is not the time to do work for nothing, because if this goes for 3 or 6 months, if you continue to do it, you can work for nothing for a month or 2 months. But when you get to 6 months, you're gone. It's all over. So, you know, make sure you're making margin on everything you do.
And John, from your perspective?
I've always looked 6 months in advance. I've always tried to act and be like the stock market. That was probably what my board always drilled into me. If you're going to get bought out by an ASX listed company, you need to be an ASX listed company, even when you're not. So I'm always operating 6 months in advance. I already know the product that I need to sell in 6 months. My team has been working on that luckily already for 3 months before COVID even came along. So we need to have that ready to go. Everything that Tony just said is your opportunity to get super strong, super nimble, business fit. And you don't want to be, the famous line from Warren Buffett is, you know, amazing how many people are naked when the tide runs out. How many people are swimming naked when the tide runs out? And unfortunately, you're seeing a lot of that right now. A lot of our members, you're seeing that right now because they didn't have a good system in place. They didn't have a good supply chain. They didn't have good customers. And unfortunately, they had too many of the one client. They didn't have diversification. So it's okay, we make mistakes. It's about putting procedures in place now that when we come out of this, that you won't do it again and learn from it.
I think that's an excellent point to finish on there, John. So I want to thank both John Horan and Tony Arnold for joining us today. I think it's been an exceptional webinar talking about surviving this sort of the coronavirus and the economic impact. And I do want to thank all our members who joined us today. I think it's fair to say you've got a very good show today from some very wise heads who've been there, been successful and done it before. So I'd really want to thank you guys for joining us. And just in wrapping up, I just want to remind members of 2 great webinars we do have coming up, and maybe not for yourselves, but maybe for some of your staff as well. We're really concerned about the mental health issues. So we've got some great partners. Next Wednesday, the 15th, we've got Mates in Construction. We'll be running a webinar on some of the first strong together in the tough times and what are the things we need to do to make it through this. And then the following Wednesday, the 22nd, Managing Mental Health and Self-Care with our super friend, Energy Super, so they can bring some more value to the table there. So from us at Master Electricians, today's webinars, oh, hang on. Okay. I'm sure Janelle will follow up with Tony about Vanuatu. I know there's been some terrible things over there, but we really want to thank everyone for coming along today, and we'll talk to you real soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you.